Hello and welcome to this Sophos Certified Training course for XG Firewall. This is Module 11, Sizing and Evaluation. To ensure you are able to meet the requirements for your customers, it is important to understand which subscriptions and bundles are required and to be able to select the most appropriate device. The Sophos XG Firewall requires a base license that includes the firewall, VPN, and wireless. For hardware devices, the base license is included in the cost. For software, virtual, and cloud, the base license is a one-time fee that is calculated based on the number of CPUs, cores, and RAM. If you increase the number of CPUs, cores, or the amount of RAM after the device is installed, you may have to purchase a new license to take advantage of the increase in resources. Please note that the IPsec VPN client is sold separately and is not included in the base license, and the HTML5 clientless VPN is part of the network protection subscription. In addition to the base license, software subscriptions can be added to give more features and functionality to the device. These are network protection, web protection, email protection, web server protection, and Sandstorm. These software subscriptions are common to all Sophos XG Firewall devices, no matter how they are deployed. You can see the features included in each subscription in this table. Click Continue when you are ready to proceed. The subscriptions are also offered in bundles. Enterprise Guard includes the base firewall, network protection, web protection, and enhanced support. We will look at the support options shortly. Full Guard includes Enterprise Guard plus email protection and web server protection. Both Enterprise Guard and Full Guard are for software, virtual, and cloud deployments. Enterprise Protect is Enterprise Guard plus hardware, and Total Protect is Full Guard plus hardware. Sophos Sandstorm is included with the Full Guard Plus and Total Protect Plus bundles. There are three options available for support. Standard, which covers 8x5 technical support for 90 days and 1 year of return or replace warranty. This is included with every Sophos XG firewall. Enhanced, which covers 24x7 technical support and advanced RMA for as long as the support contract remains valid. Enhanced Plus, which covers 24x7 technical support, a VIP phone number, access to senior support resources, and a target response time along with advanced RMA as long as the support contract remains valid. Enhanced Plus support is required to cover backup devices in high availability and also covers access points, REDs, and FlexiPorts. The price of the Enhanced and Enhanced Plus support packages are calculated as a percentage of the hardware cost or a percentage of the base license cost in the case of software and virtual devices. It is important to understand sizing the Sophos XG firewall when planning deployment. It would be simple to recommend the largest possible device to all customers. However, cost is often a factor when providing a solution. At the same time, if the firewall does not perform well when deployed or scaled well as the customer grows, it can leave them with a poor impression after the deployment is complete. We want to avoid this situation, and so sizing is an important step to understand. The first steps is to weight the users and adjust for the system load. This is a more involved method but gives the best estimate for what model firewall is the best fit for a given scenario. While it takes more time and effort, if the customer is very cost-focused, then this method will produce the best size estimate of the minimum model device that will still provide a positive user experience. This way, we can assure the customer that the firewall will perform well while still keeping their costs to a minimum. There are 4 steps to effectively sizing hardware applications. Understand the customer's environment, including user behavior, application usage, and the network and server infrastructure. Starting with the number of users to be protected by the device, the subscriptions licensed, and the information gathered about the customer's environment, derive an initial estimate. Check for any specific throughput requirements and compare these to the hardware specifications. Adjust the initial estimate accordingly, and optionally, offer an on-site evaluation of the selected device to validate the sizing in complex scenarios. First, you would use the user behavior to apply a weighting to the number of users to be protected by the Sophos XG firewall. To do this, identify which category of user best describes the typical user behavior, choosing from average, advanced, and power. Then multiply the number of users by the category's weight to get the weighted number of users. For example, if a customer has 80 users and the majority of them fall into the advanced user category, you would multiply by 1.2, giving a weighted number of users 96. If large groups of users fit into different categories, you can adjust the weight based on the percentage of users that fall into a different category. If you have 80 users, where the majority are average users and 25% are power users, you might use a weighting of 1.125. You can calculate the weighted number of users for each category type, then add the results together. If you have 30 average users, 20 advanced users, and 15 power users, your weighted number of users would be 77, or 30 plus 20 times 1.2 plus 15 times 1.5. You would then want to apply a weight based on any requirements which may increase the overall system load, thereby affecting the performance requirements. To do this, identify the category that most closely fits your customer's environment. Then, multiply the weighted number of users calculated in the previous step by the category multiplier. This will give you the total weighted number of users. Use this table to calculate your weighted users. Enter the user counts in the table and then multiply them with the indicated factor. This gives you the weighted user count. Identify the system load number and enter it into the multiplied by system load. Let's take a look at an example. If your customer has 560 users, you need to determine approximately how they break down into standard, advanced, and power users. In this example, there are 100 standard users, which is 100 weighted users, 300 advanced users, which is 360 weighted users, and 160 power users, which is 240 weighted users. This gives us 700 weighted users. The system load in this example is 1.2 for advanced, which gives a total weighted users of 840. Now you can use the total weighted number of users to make a first estimate for the required hardware appliance. In our example, the customer has 840 weighted users. If they are going to use all the features, then an XG450 would be the right appliance for that customer. However, if the customer was only going to be using network protection, then an XG430 would be the right appliance for that customer. As a rule of thumb, estimate that adding wireless protection or web server protection will decrease the range by 5 to 10% each. Software or virtual appliances are licensed by the number of virtual cores and RAM size. Licenses do not have to match exactly the number of available cores or RAM, however, will only activate the licensed cores or RAM to be used in the software. These can be used on various CPU types with various speeds. The performance might vary significantly even if using the same number of cores or RAM size. The diagram provides a rough guidance of total weighted user ranges recommended for each software model. Numbers are based on the following assumptions: a CPU speed of 2.5 GHz, a CPU type of single-core Xeon, the capacity of the customer's internet connection, up and downlink, should match the average throughput rate that the selected unit is able to forward, depending on the subscriptions in use. However, data might not only be filtered on its way to the internet, but also between internal network segments. Hence, you need to consider internal traffic that traverses the firewall in this assessment. For instance, the customer might have several servers located within a DMZ and wants to have all traffic to those servers from all segments be inspected by the IPS. Or the customer may have many different network segments that should be protected against each other by using the firewall packet filter and/or the application control feature. In this case, the unit is required to scan the complete internal traffic between all segments. It is also important to consider future growth. Is the customer expecting to expand over the next couple of years? This is particularly important if the initial estimate was close to the upper boundary of the model. Is the customer also likely to want to use more features in the future? If the customer is purchasing a FullGuard license, they can easily enable additional features that you may not have included in the sizing. So it is important to discuss with the customer whether they want to size for a device that can support those features in the future for their users. An on-site evaluation can be used to show a customer the effectiveness of the Sophos XG firewall. It allows us to ensure that the XG firewall meets the requirements of the customer and that it can easily replace what the customer already has in place. In order to perform an on-site evaluation, you will need to perform the following steps. 1. Off-site preparation. 2. Coordinate. 3. On-site deployment. 4. Report review. And 5. Present the review. Let's look at the steps required for an on-site evaluation. First, the off-site preparation. Perform a factory reset. Set up, activate, and register the XG firewall. Use the FullGuard license, and install the latest firmware and patterns. Next, coordinate. Perform a sanity check. Install the preparation steps. Determine the deployment mode you're going to implement. It could be Discover, Transparent Bridge, or Gateway, and integrate with the authentication server via the API. Next, the on-site deployment. configure the user identification, configure SPAN in the network switch if using Discover mode, configure the security audit report. The data should be sent to our cloud server for report generation. Configure dynamic updates, verify that the box can connect to the internet, check the logs, and send a test email. Then review the reports. Look at the SAR report and review the summary findings and reports on areas to be highlighted. Finally, present the review. This should always be presented in person. Feedback is always welcome as it helps us to improve our courses for you. If you have any comments, feedback, or questions during the class or labs, please let your instructor know or email globaltraining@sophos.com. Now that you have completed this course, you should complete the online assessment that is available in the training portal. You will have 4 attempts to pass the assessment. The assessment contains questions on both theory and lab content. To become a Sophos certified engineer, you need to complete and pass 2 product courses.